Conglomenian Chronicles by General Leonard T. Krantz. 4. Extended Leave in Kebabnia. July 24th. The President of our beloved fatherland of Kebabnia, Lord Archimedes Ferretpouch, had put out a call to all soldiers fighting the war, with no exception, to take a break and get some much-needed R&R back home to indulge in fridge magnets and lettuce. We happily obliged and accepted the call home with a lack of meanderings and gossip-mongering. The enemy were sad to see us leave the war in the middle of the fight, but we assured them that we would be back soon to shoot them again. They waved us off with a friendly gesture of mass bombardment aimed at our soldiers in sight. Some of our soldiers wept tears of joy at this grand gesture of loveliness as we traipsed off the battlefield coated in sludge. When we got to the ferries at Forkspasm Peninsula, donut stands were already set up for us. As I bit into my donut, my lip quivered with nostalgia. An acid spooged from the pastry, deliciously burning a hole through my boot. My platoon was in high spirits. Maltus McClure was writing yet another ditty reflecting our time flattening the fascist arse-janglers. Jiminy Alesnail was lifting huge dumbbells made of the finest cheese, and Axel Majumbe was preparing an array of sauce-based weapons to leave as stocks for our return, and assigning a small crow to guard over each crate, in case of possible thievery. These crows could vomit half-digested curry at will over anyone with an inkling of a desire for looting. Almost all of our other members of my platoon were hard at work trying to turn wine into gold, a useful practice, as we needed money for when we got back home. Chuck Flabbergasty had already amassed a veritable pile of wine coins. As we boarded the boat to our beloved homeland, Maltus piped up, with his tremendous singing voice. "Off we go, home again, scrub your horses, skin a hen. Where we're going you'll never find us, we'll drink beer and we'll drink ale, try and follow tight behind us, maybe you'll fall foul of a nuclear snail." We all cheered in approval at this wondrous new audio artwork, and the snail cheered too, although not too loudly, as it had been commanded to keep the vibration to a minimum so as not to explode. After about an hour's travel, boat captain Fred Dildoctopus pointed westward to everyone. "Ahoy!" he shouted, and slowly but surely we passed Quintopheline Island. On the shores we could see millions of half-dressed go-go girls, alluring us and blowing kisses, waving banners to cherish us as heroes, all the while sarcastically showing us a range of cakes that we could never reach because we weren't even stopping there anyway, so whatever, I don't care, shut up. Within a few more hours we had reached the mainland of our home country of Kebabnia. Aggressively our ferries entered the Arse estuary and pulled up at Arsemouth. As we debarked the craft one by one, Jiminy Alesnail showed off his pecs to a passing troglodyte who gave him 4 out of 5 stars, so said the sign he had raised up in reply. I quantitatively disestablished myself at the local wine vendor beyond the cobbled dock path, and then I intermingled my eyeballs as soon as I tasted the wine. Ah, such a fragrance, such a fine drop. It reminded me of my home up on the Hazaldus Highlands, of my cottage with its wide fireplace and cosy thorn bushes. Before long my men were all getting drunk by the wine vendor, and demanded he put some seats and a table out for us. He replied, "Only if you carve them from this bowl of ambergris I found." We complied, of course, and then he rolled out the wheel of solidified whale vomit. I remember we were all distinctly disappointed that it was only 20 foot tall. I'd once wrestled a sperm whale until it choked and got a ball at least 30 foot tall. Still, we fashioned some stinking fishy furniture all the same. We spent a while trekking through the grassy dunes under the intense heat of the afternoon sun. We had first crossed the toasty basin, and then ascended the slopes of our highest mountain, Arcanius, stopping only briefly at the town of Kelhuratil to buy grilled fish and grapes from a man made of rotating crackers. At the summit of Mount Arcanius we had an unhindered view of all of Kebabnia. We breathed the air and pointed to places we knew. Alfred gave us a binocular view of Beef Snackington to the north. Jiminy told us of his home far out of visual range in Slobcouver, jutting out into the Pepsi Coke Ocean, and Axel pointed out the over-relaxed leisure town of Kringspinget at the rear of tall Ars Mountain, which overlooks the Ars estuary we came in through. After much high-altitude loafing, we descended in a westerly direction and crossed the Hez flatlands. We drank at a bar in the town of Cradle Hez, before I invited them all up to my cottage in the Highland Lake district of Hezeldus Lake for some prime-time loafing, laze-making and relaxifactoring. There we chased porcupines and roasted beaver testicles until they popped and the sun set in a purple haze. As it got dark, a poodle screamed distantly. This greatly amused Jiminy Alesnail, who was a keen bitch terrorist in his younger days, and used to skewer dogs with hot pokers for acceptance into the higher ranks of child society. In those days you could ascend to even become the king of the children if you so wished. However, the youngest adult would still outrank you and be able to ask you to perform tricks at a moment's notice. But still, anyone younger than you could do your bidding and build you small towns unquestioningly, although all of the buildings would be a height restriction of 5 meters. Indoors, my wife Helga Krantz lit up the much-fabled fireplace by going out to the now-dormant volcano, Mount Hazuldus, and infuriating it by stabbing it with toothpicks until it relented and gifted her with a stream of lava leading into the house and lighting the logs. There are very few geological landforms that intimidate my wife. It is one of the 135 things I love about her. I also like it when the wind blows too harshly against her hair and it forms animal shapes. My men warmed to the comforts of my home, and I kept them in a state of high jollity until President Lord Alcimedes' ferret pouch came on the TV news, with his custom pouch of ferrets befitting his name and stature, and told us that it was about time we all did a bit more war, and we had to make preparations to leave in the morning. Our return ferry filled up with soldiers at Quintport, and we shipped back out with a lust for blood and shreds of pure gore hanging from our collectively gritted teeth.